Today I want to talk a little bit about my current situation in chess and what my goals and expectations are for this summer. So basically, I have been in a pretty big slump in terms of chess improvement, and my rating has taken a big toll. Just like 2 years ago, I was rated like 24, at my peak 2450, then it started dropping down kind of fast, 2420, 2410, and now I'm all the way at 2350. And overall, my play has been quite rusty, and I haven't really felt like myself for a while at the board. And so I'd like to talk about a few reasons why I think that's happening, and then also project a little bit what my expectations are for my tournaments this summer. And the first one will actually begin just next week. So before I get into the reasons, let me actually take you back a little bit and give you some context about the way I perceive chess and what chess has been like for me throughout my life. So I learned to play chess at 4 years old with my dad, and I eventually started playing like in competitive tournaments, like club tournaments at age 9, 10. And chess has been with me my whole life. I've never really taken a break from it at all, and I probably haven't mm, I haven't went more than, let's say, 2 or 3 months without playing over the board, and online it's almost daily. Now, my dad accompanied me throughout most of my chess journey, and he supported me in lots of ways, and I can only be grateful for a lot of things. But one of the things that he didn't do so well is that he put a lot of pressure on me, especially when I started to, let's say, become better, and I was relatively good for my age. And there started to be um, a lot of pressure around winning and around performing well. And so when I had bad tournaments or bad hiccups, there were fights and there were all sorts of things. Of course, nothing, let's say, uh, nothing out of the ordinary, but just overall, I felt quite pressured. So around age 15, 16, I was rated somewhere in the vicinity of the high 20, 2100s, low 2200s. I was oscillating between those two ratings constantly. And eventually, by the time I was just turning 17, I believe, I had my first big breakthrough in my chess career. So in the span of 1 month, I won the youth nationals at the time, the under 18. And then I had a really good run in a tournament here in Portugal, an international tournament, and I made 2300, which is the so-called FIDE Master, which is a goal that was on my mind for a very long time. And I say that was a huge breakthrough for me, mainly in mental terms. Okay. So I'm a big believer in psychology in chess. I know there's this famous quote by Fischer saying that I don't believe in psychology, I believe in good moves. And I, jbarria, personally believe that is a bunch of BS. So I think psychology is one of the most important things in chess by far. It's a purely mental game, and I feel like psychology plays a huge role. So someone that might not be as good as technically as another player, if accompanied by good psychology, and that means being confident, not being afraid, playing for the win, being ambitious, and so on, can be on par with someone that's technically better than them. And when I had this breakthrough, it was like this sudden shift where most of my fear went away, and I felt like I was just, this huge weight went off my shoulders, and I could just play naturally and just bust out ideas left and right. This was mainly due to the fact that, well, two things. One, the FIDE master thing was, this goal that's kind of important uh, in the small chess world of Portugal. There's tons of stories from people that almost made FM and then just lost some crucial game or whatever, and then just went downhill and could never recover like ever again. And the second thing, which is even more important, is that I had never won the youth nationals, and at the time I was basically a kid, and this was the most important thing in my life, pretty much. So with this huge mental breakthrough, I could all of a sudden play much more freely and overall just much better. And over the next following years, my chess career was, I wasn't prodigy or anything like that, far from it. But again, in our, let's say, spectrum of chess in Portugal, I was doing very well. I was gaining rating consistently and climbing up to 2400. I had lots of opportunities to make norms early on. In some of them, I could have taken advantage of it better. In others, I was just a bit unlucky. That wasn't really worrying me too much because still I was gaining rating, and overall was just having fun and feeling like I was playing really well. And then my second big breakthrough came in 2023 when I won two national championships. So first the Blitz, where I had a couple good wins, and then the much more important one, the absolute classical championship. It was the first time I won that, and the only time so far. And I almost even broke the national record for the score. Like I made 8 points out of 9 rounds. Um, and yeah, what can I say? I just felt like I was on top of the world back then. I also made two IM norms that summer, so that was back in 2023. And I was already 2390 when I made that enormous tournament. So I shot up to 2450, which was my peak till date. And I remember I even looked at the top 100 juniors list at the time, and I was just barely off of it, like maybe 10 spots or 5 spots or something. Now, opposed to what you might think, throughout these fruitful, most fruitful years of my chess career, between roughly 2020 and 2023, when I made it to 2400, not yet IM because I still needed one norm, but 2400, I wasn't really studying that hard at all. So I was also doing my bachelor's degree in software engineering, which was quite intensive and challenging. And I was barely studying chess at all. I wasn't doing like zero, but close to it, especially if you're at that level, just quite high, like 2400 over the board. It's pretty high. I was doing much, much less than people around me. Nevertheless, I was having tons of fun. And again, I felt like I was playing like completely loose, completely free, just enjoying every move, every idea, sacrificing stuff, and just playing beautiful chess. Games. In that time period, I played games that generally I can look back at and feel like, dude, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful combination, or like that's a beautiful concept, a beautiful idea. I'm even stunned that I was able to find that myself sometimes. And that doesn't mean it was necessarily, you know, a super good and precise move or whatever, but it's, again, it's a matter of being proud of your own work, right? Or your own art. So after that, inexplicably, maybe without the same level of explanation as to why I was playing so well in the first place, I started playing worse. I I was going to tournaments and sitting down at the board, and for some reason I just couldn't see the same moves and same ideas as before. It's quite a weird phenomenon, but it has happened to me and many other players, at least in chess, a lot of times. And unfortunately, that has stuck with me pretty much until today. So that is from 2023 to the present time, 2026. Now, it's not like I'm always in this state and I can't produce any good moves or haven't had any good games in the meantime. But in general, I don't feel that I'm playing with the same level of freedom and of enjoyment and lack of overall tension and nervousness as before. Now, I believe there's mainly three reasons for this, which I'd like to share. So the first reason is that I have realized that I'm not very good at dealing with let's say milestones or deadlines or targets. So what I mean by this is that when I won that national champion and made it to 2450, I thought to myself, well, I am already at 2450. I'm this close to 2500. Of course, it's still a bit far away, but it's just a way of expressing it. And I knew that I didn't have the level of 2450 back then, but I honestly didn't think I was far from it. I thought I was maybe rated, truly rated around 2420, something like this, like low 2400s. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to, hit the gas pedal right now. And if I can just maintain this elo for a couple of, you know, months or a year or whatever until my level eventually reaches my elo and then surpasses it, I'm already in a great track to become GM, to make the GM title. And in order to achieve this, I started studying much more. I postponed my master's degree for 1 year, or should I say I extended it for 1 year. So usually the master's degree here in Portugal lasts 2 years, and I extended it to 3 years so that I could have more time to dedicate to chess. And I started studying. But as I said, things didn't go to plan, and I started pretty much failing miserably in a lot of tournaments. So that's the first thing. I'm not very good at dealing with these set in stone uh, milestones or goals. The second thing is this weird phenomenon, which again I know happens to other players, which is that the more I study chess, the more nervous I get on the board because I feel like I owe myself to perform better. And this is super unfair to myself and just a ridiculous thing. And it's one of these things that from afar you just feel like, dude, what the hell are you even saying? Just slap him in the face, like just wake up, cut that stuff off. But it's not so easy. What can I say? It's not so easy. Over this time period, I was studying 3 hours a day for a couple months. That was the maximum I had. The period where I had the most outcome, or sorry, the most output in terms of chess study. And I would go to the board, and I was genuinely nervous. Like I didn't want to fail. I wanted to win and to hold draws against stronger people. I didn't want to keep losing against GMs, even though they were GMs and they were strong and whatnot. And against lower rated people, I felt like I had to win. Otherwise, like, what am I doing with my life? I'm pouring all this time into this and I'm still crap. But it happened anyways. And the third reason is the time constraint. So I took on this extended master's degree, and my goal was that in these 3 years I would make it to GM and then just move on with my life or do whatever I wanted. And I also came to learn that I don't deal that well with these time constraints. So I operate much better when, again, the whole environment is just more relaxed and playful, and I don't have these fixed goals and especially when they're time constrained. Coming back to this point where I was talking about I wanted to make GM and then do whatever I wanted with my life, I feel like it's a good time to clarify what exactly I pretend to get out of chess. So my career has been, in my view, pretty good. I have won a couple national titles, and I have made it to international master, which is of course better than 99.99% of people. But you know, it's that hedonic treadmill that when you get better, you start to be accustomed to that, and you don't really feel better just because you're better at something. Anyways, so what I always wanted to get out of this, what I thought I could realistically achieve and be super proud of, is the GM title. That's also why this whole thing has so much importance to me and why I get so nervous at the games and so on. I remember when I was a small kid, my dad used to think that I could even become like world champion or something. But I realized quite early on that that just wasn't the case because maybe I was even good for my age group, but there were kids that were throughout the world internationally just miles and miles better than me. But I always thought that making GM was a realistic goal. And so that's pretty much what I wanted and still want today, but just not in the same way. I just wanted to achieve that lifelong goal, that childhood goal of becoming a GM, and then pretty much moving on with my life because I don't really want to make like my professional life out of chess. I teach a couple classes, and I'm overall kind of into the chess world. I'm up to date with the tournaments and stuff, and I love watching the tournaments and watching the streams and following the games. But I, one, don't want to solely teach chess for a living, and two, I definitely don't want to play chess for a living because that's, in my opinion, a miserable way of living and just super stressful and also just boring because professional chess, like, you're sitting behind a computer all day, which is ironically what I'll also be doing in my own work, but but it's different because you're just looking at stockfish lines and coming up with little moves and see who memorizes best. And I mean, I'm not cut out for that life. Unfortunately, chess is not as creative as it once was. So I never really wanted to make chess out of my whole life. Now, moving on to my expectations for this summer, as you can probably deduce, they're quite low. Honestly, I don't even have any expectations in terms of rating or how well I want to perform. What I really want, actually, is to feel a little bit like that child again. This is a bit poetic all of a sudden, but I want to feel like I'm playing without much worry and having fun, having pleasure, enjoying my moves, enjoying thinking. I even saw this. I don't know who said it already, maybe it was someone in the chess dojo, maybe it was David Pruess actually that said this, that really resonated with me, which is like, he said, I went to this tournament, which I believe was the Sitges tournament, and he said, my goal for that tournament was to lose a game and enjoy it. Like, lose a game and enjoy that. Not be upset, not be outraged or flustered or whatever. Be able to lose a game gracefully and enjoy it. And that really stuck with me. I feel like that's my goal as well for this next tournament, not even this summer, this very upcoming tournament. I don't want to feel this anger or sadness or all these emotions all the time when I lose. I want to just go there and, enjoy my game without suffering too much, let's say. So that's pretty much it. I haven't been studying at all lately. I've been doing lots of other things, and mainly I just want to enjoy my games this summer, and we'll see how it goes. See you guys soon. Thanks for staying out with this rant. Peace out.